Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. I want to talk about making my own clothes as a minimalist and as a person living sustainably. Now, so that you know, I do make my own clothes sometimes, but actually rarely during the past few years. And I want to talk about why. Like, what are the pros to make your own clothes, but what are also the pros to buying clothes, getting clothes for free and things like that when it comes to minimalist and sustainable living. Today's video might be the start of a new series where I do knit a sweater. I got some wool secondhand over an online marketplace and it's 100% wool and it's secondhand, so I don't have any like ethical concerns. And I also love that it is 100% like natural fiber and it wasn't expensive. So I'm gonna attempt knitting a sweater. Some of you have requested like knitting tutorials. Now I'm not like very good at knitting. I just learned it in school, and so you can knit along with me or I can like show you what I'm doing, but I can't really give you a full tutorial on how to knit a sweater. But what I did first, and that's actually the first time in my life that I did that, is making I don't know how it's called, but just testing how the thread and the needles, how it works together. And I made it with one thread. I knitted with one thread first, and it's just like, it's very see-through. That's not, I decided that that's not, like, that's too see-through. And then I tested like knitting with two threads, because the problem is that I'm using too thick needles for this thread. But I am a minimalist. I only have like very limited needles to knit. And so I didn't want to buy new needles just for this project, so I thought I use the ones that I have, but with that thread it's just not possible, it's just too thin. So I decided to knit with two threads, but I just have that limited amount of yarn, so I hope that it's gonna be enough. But I want to make like a cropped sweater, so I hope it's gonna be enough, and otherwise maybe the sweater is just too cropped, it's just like very cropped. But I'm gonna knit a raglan, I don't know how it's called in English, sweater, and that's a sweater that you knit from the top down. To like show you what I mean by that, it's similar to this one, to that hoodie that I have. The sleeves look like this, like this is the seam, and it's not like an attached sleeve, but it starts from the neckline, and yes, exactly, and you knit it from top to bottom, which is great because you can knit it in one piece and you can try it on the go, so you can make sure that it fits and that it is how you want it to be. And that's also the reason why I say I can just make it shorter if I don't have any wool left, because that's like, usually you knit that part first and then the sleeves, but I will maybe just knit the sleeves so I know that they are long enough, and then knit that part, and I'll see just where it ends, like how long it's gonna get with that amount of wool, because it's not that much. But we're gonna open that up because I don't want to waste that wool, and then we're gonna start with, like, I want to make a mock neck or like a turtleneck, but some kind of a neck. So we're gonna open that up and start with that. That's also something I like about knitting. It's always possible to like open up everything and make something new, because it's not like fabric that when you cut into it once, then it's like it's cut and it's waste if you can't make anything out of it. Like, it's so much easier to like use it again if you realize that you did something wrong. And I'm pretty sure I will need to like reopen and redo some parts of the sweater, because I'm not using a pattern. I'm just gonna try it out. That's the way I like it best, but also the most risky way to do it. When I was in school, we actually learned to do certain things like knitting and sewing, and so I was always able to like knit and sew things, and it's something I like doing. My mom also used to have a lot of fabrics and just thread and wool and stuff at home, so we could do all handcrafting projects that we wanted to do. And that's, I think, why I started. But then, of course, I got older, I got boring. I just wanted to have the fast fashion pieces that I saw all the other people wear. And then I stopped making my own clothes. But when I started like secondhand shopping, I realized that a lot of things like could need a bit of altering, and that was, I think, when I got interested in it again, and I had a sewing machine and I tried to like sew my own things from scratch, and then I kind of stopped again, and now I'm doing it just a little bit. But let's talk about why I make my own clothes, when I do it, and why I don't do it when I decide to just buy something. I'm using my phone to do the math to like see how many stitches I need. And since we're starting with like the neck part, I'm measuring around my neck, see how much that is. Like I don't want to fit it too tightly, so I'm like just giving it a bit of space. And then we're seeing that we end up at like 34 centimeters. So, and I know that for 1 centimeters, I need 1.6 stitches. That's what I tested before as well when I knitted that like piece to make sure that it would work and how it looked with 1 or 2 threads. And so I know that I need 1.6 stitches. So we're going to type in 1.6 times 34, and that is 54.4 stitches. And I need to have a number that I can divide by 2 because I want to do like one knit and 1 purl stitch. I think that's how you call it. And that since 54.4 will not work, I think we're just gonna go with 54. Then I'm gonna start here with one stitch, put it on the needle, and I'm taking the longer end in my hand and the other one here, and then I'm just gonna make stitches. And I need to count, so I cannot talk while doing that. So I think now I have 54, and I'm gonna use like the magic loop technique. You can look that up if you want to know what it is, but basically just because I do not have enough like different needles to do everything with the correct needle, and just because it works, like it works fine enough, and that's why I'm gonna use that technique. See that it doesn't like turn around, because otherwise we'll have going to reopen everything when we do that mistake. Everything is prepared, and if we're really lucky, that's the only time I'm gonna start this project. And I'm gonna just knit like one. I knit one and I purl one, and I knit one and I purl one, if you know what that means and if I'm saying that correctly. So now we're ready to start talking about why you should and could and shouldn't buy or make your own clothes. Now, for me personally, there are a few factors that go into why I would buy clothes or why I would make my own clothes. And just some of them are the money, the time, the sustainability, if I can get exactly what I want, yeah, and things like that. And so let's maybe start with money. Now, when I buy a new piece, I want to make sure it's made by a sustainable brand. So that does cost a lot of money, and I am willing to pay that every now and then, but I couldn't afford like my whole wardrobe, to like buy my whole wardrobe, because it's that expensive. So I do just focus on buying underwear from sustainable brands, like underwear each time and other things every now and then. And for most of the other pieces, I usually buy them secondhand. And that's just because it's very inexpensive. It's so easy to buy your clothes secondhand. And so I think if you are on a budget, usually it makes sense to just buy secondhand, because making your own clothes is most likely also going to be more expensive, because you need the material, you need like the skills, maybe you need to buy a pattern or something, you need a sewing machine if you're sewing, you need all the needles and stuff if you're knitting. And so making your own clothes most of the time is not really inexpensive. But this time it is, because I bought all the wool I need for this project secondhand, and it just cost me 10 euros. And it also cost me like 4 euros for the shipment, but still like 14 euros for all the material for a sweater is totally fine with me. And so I think I really like to make my own things if I can make them out of inexpensive material, because I would want to make sure that the fabric or the thread that I'm buying is sustainable as well. And if I buy sustainable wool and sustainable fabric, that's usually very expensive. I also don't have a sewing machine, for example, at the moment. And so I would have to like rent one or buy one, and I'm just not willing to do that at the moment. So it's a lot more inexpensive for me to buy things secondhand most of the time. I love to make my own things out of secondhand things, and I think that really goes for upcycling things or just changing things. If you buy something secondhand, that is not just right. So sometimes for pants, I make them smaller around the waist, because most of the time pants don't fit me, because I think fitting models just have different measurements, even if they have my size. So I always that's something I always do, like altering things that don't fit me exactly. But making my own clothes from scratch is something that I mostly only do if I get the materials I need for that secondhand as well, just because it's too expensive otherwise. And that about sums it up, I think, for why I would buy or make my things when it comes to the cost. Now, when it comes to sustainability, it's actually similar. I think when buying things secondhand, that's the most sustainable thing we can do. Maybe the only difficulty when buying things secondhand is if they really fit, and if they have natural fibers, or just what kind of material the clothes are made of. Because if they are not made out of sustainable materials, they will lose microplastics during the process of washing, for example. And that is, of course, they would do that whether you buy them or another person buys them, and that's not really on you, but it's still something that concerns me. And when I did buy secondhand pieces with microplastics in the past, I always made sure to try to wash them in a guppy-friend wash bag, or to prevent the microplastics from entering the water. And so that's just something you have to think about when you buy things secondhand that are not sustainably made, that contain microplastics. And that's of course a point that when I make my own things, I try to make them in a sustainable way with sustainable materials, and then I don't have to worry about that. But of course, you can also get a lot of things secondhand that are made out of natural materials, and then it's not a problem at all. And of course, secondhand things are already made, so they already exist, and it's the case on our planet that we just have so many clothes that I think we could all survive for another at least 50 years if all the people just used secondhand things that already exist, because we have so many clothes that we really don't need to make any new ones. But of course, again, when it comes to underwear or things like that, I totally understand if nobody wants to use secondhand underwear. So when it comes to sustainability, it already maybe makes more sense to buy things secondhand because they already exist. But yeah, if you want to be sure that you can wear it for a long time, and if you want to really know what's in there and who made it, making your things yourself, of course, is a good thing as well, just because you know exactly who made it, at least if you buy at least the steps that you do. And you can make a garment that fits you perfectly, so you can use it for a long time, and that of course makes it more sustainable as well. Now, maybe when it comes to just having a good and functional capsule wardrobe, that's something that is really important to me as well. And when we talk about that, I think it's maybe a really good thing to make things yourself, or at least alter them if you buy them, just because you can make pieces the exact way you want them to have. If I pick this wool, I can choose what fit this sweater should have. I can choose what kind of stitches I do to make it. I can choose if it should be cropped and how cropped. I can choose the length of the arms, the sleeves, because a lot of times maybe they are not the exact length that I need. And so making things yourself really, of course, makes it possible to get a garment that you're absolutely happy with, which then of course makes it possible for you to wear it longer, wear it more often, and just get more use out of it, which is a good thing for a sustainable capsule wardrobe. And of course it's more minimalist as well if you can just, if you don't have to think about all the problems you maybe have with that piece of cloth. You know what I did? I said that I want to do it with 2 threads. And now I started and I have 2 rounds, and I realize now that I have only 1 thread. That's like really, really, really stupid. So what I just said before, hopefully I only have to do it once. Yes, I already have to do it a second time. Maybe it's just not easy to think if you're making a video at the same time, right? That's so stupid. Ugh. Here we are. Let's start again. So this time 2 threads. And that actually really suits the next point I want to talk about, which is it takes a lot of time to make your own things. Like, even if maybe the material is not super expensive, if you're able to get it secondhand, and even if it's a hobby, it really does take a lot of time. And yeah, not all of us have a lot of time to make our own clothes. So I absolutely understand every single person that thinks that if you can have like a €1 t-shirt from a thrift store, or let's say it's 2 or 5, that it's still a lot more like inexpensive because you don't have to spend hours upon hours for making your own clothes. But at the same time, if it's your hobby, like if you like doing it, it's a great thing. Why not spending your time doing something you love while making yourself pieces of clothing that you will love wearing? So that is what I do, and that is actually both of my like thoughts. So on one hand, I don't want to spend all my time making my own clothes if it's so easy to buy them secondhand, and if it's so sustainable, and there are just so many clothes out there. And on the other hand, I really love making my own clothes, so it is a hobby for me, and so I don't mind spending hours doing that, because I actually have some time now, and I'm super, super grateful for that, and I'm very privileged to have this time. Because let me tell you, I think I already spent at least 5 hours on this sweater, just like searching for the wool, researching patterns, researching like a mood board of how I want the sweater to look in the end, trying out how it works, making my first, trying the first time and seeing that I only used 1 thread. And so it does take a lot of time. Like, if you would pay me for that time, this sweater would cost like hundreds of euros. And yeah. So that is also why I don't like handcraft things to sell, because I think some of you have asked that before, if I could just like sell things that I knit because I like knitting, and I just think it wouldn't be worth it. Like, if I work for my own wardrobe, yes, but I couldn't make a price for a sweater that I have spent like 30 hours on. So now I have to count again. Okay. It actually feels so much better now, because it's not like that super thin thread with these big needles. Oh, another thing that is kind of related with me reopening the thing and trying again is that that has happened to me in the past a lot, that when I try to make my own things, I succeeded. I made a piece that you could wear, but it didn't actually turn out the way I exactly imagined it. And the problem with that is that sometimes also the quality is not great, because if you sew something, if the seams are just not perfect, or if you knit something and you made some mistakes, and then it's just super hard to give it away to somebody else, because has been made with your measurements. You made some mistakes that maybe you would wear it if it would be perfect otherwise. But if it's just not like, yeah, the quality kind of suffers if you don't do it perfectly, or that's at least the way I feel a lot of times. And then if I like altered a piece of like a clothing piece, or if I made something from scratch by myself but it isn't perfect, then I really don't know any sustainable way to like get rid of it or to like give it to somebody else, because then of course I don't really want to give it to somebody else when I think it can't really be worn that well. And yeah, then I just feel bad because it feels like I need to just recycle it or use it as like cleaning racks or something, when it should have been a piece that you can wear, or when it was something that you could wear but I wanted to alter it and it didn't turn out the way I imagined. But I think it's also okay, like if it's your hobby, if you spend time, if you learn, then it's also okay that sometimes things end up not being how you imagined them. And it's not perfectly sustainable because of course it creates more waste. But in the end, we just can't be perfect. And I think making your own clothes should be something that people feel encouraged to do if they are interested in it. Oof, the beginning is always a bit hard. I think I said that before I realized I had to open everything again. Okay. Oh, now we're at the point we were before I had to redo it. So of course I would be interested in knowing if you have ever made a garment for yourself to wear, if you have ever succeeded, if you are an advanced person in making your own clothes. Let me know, that would be really interesting to hear. I have heard about so many like challenges of making your own wardrobe, of having only things made by yourself, or just like making a certain number of things each year. And my problem has actually always been that I just don't need new things to make, and then I feel like why would I make something if I don't need it, because then I have it in my wardrobe and it's just another piece added to my wardrobe that I don't actually need. And that has been the reason that I haven't made many things during the past few years. Also, just so you know, this is another sweater that I don't actually really need, and that has actually been kind of like an impulsive purchase, because I just saw that wool on that online marketplace one night and I knew like it's just here, it has been here for a few minutes, and if I'm not quick then maybe it's gone, because it's really inexpensive and 100% wool. So I really wanted to have it, and in a color that I like and that I think suits me, and so I bought it. And now I already have my 3 sweaters and I usually only need 3, so this will be the 4th sweater that I don't actually really need. But also I really want to explore hobbies and see what I really like doing, and I think knitting is one of them. And so I thought that's like a good good method to try it out. And I know I like knitting, so I know I like spending my time like this, and so why shouldn't I knit? And at least if this sweater is gonna turn out perfect enough, then it wouldn't be a problem to give it away to somebody else if I decide after a few months or years that I don't really want to wear it anymore. So I'm gonna knit my mock neck or turtleneck now, and I also wanted to know what you think about starting a series like this. Should I continue knitting the sweater with you here while filming videos? And what are the things you want me to talk about in these videos? If you have any questions, no matter if they are like knitting and wardrobe related or not, you can leave them down below in the comments and we can do like Q&A and knitting. And also just leave me any questions you have, any comments you have, any things you wanted me to read, and let me know if you would like this kind of series, and also let me know if you have other video ideas you'd like me to make in the future. Also let me know if you think that I will succeed, like that will turn out in any like good way, or if you think that I will that it won't work out, that I won't have enough wool, that it just will be a failed project. Now, I know myself, and I would say I think it will turn out somehow. But I can't really tell you if it's gonna be the way that I imagine it, or if we are going to run into some problems, if I will have enough wool. I really can't tell, because I'm pretty much a person that likes to just do it without like planning it completely through in the beginning, and so that can of course be a problem in the process. But it's also a lot of fun, because it means that I can just try it out and I don't have to spend so much time analyzing and thinking if it will work out the way I imagine it and things like that. So I hope you liked this video, and if you did, consider giving it a thumbs up, because that would really help the algorithm and my channel. And if you want to see more videos, check out the video right here and the playlist right here, and I also hope to see you next time. Bye!